And happy Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, and welcome to a brand new edition of what I like to call the Isolation Cabin. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Kurt Cadet, aka Conscious Kurt in the flesh as always. And here on the Isolation Cabin, I like to talk about the different forms isolation takes on, whether good or bad, the effects it has on us and our mental health, and what we could do to have a better handle and understanding of it, to have a better quality of our lives going forward. Now, several weeks ago, I did an episode on this podcast talking about why it's wrong to judge people. And I want to further elaborate on that topic in this week's episode as I talk about a form of judging people that probably stands out most. And that form of judging people is stereotyping and singling out a specific group of people as all being the exact same. I've seen this far too often throughout my life, even with people that I know personally. And I have to say, it really disappoints me. Because whenever I hear someone say something like, all black people are this, all white people are that, all men are evil, all women are conniving, whatever it is, I am always skeptical of them. Because you cannot like a specific person, but to group up every single last person who may look like them or come from the same ethnic background as them as the exact same is some ignorant ass shit. Because holding on to that kind of closed-minded attitude and making up your mind attitude not only makes you look like a dumbass, but in the long run, it's going to cost you a lot of potential good relationships. Because I maintained on that judgmental episode I did several months ago that you should never come up with a conclusion about someone unless you've actually gotten to know them. And by singling out a group of people as all being the same and all acting the same when you don't even know most of them, then you are partaking in that kind of ignorance. So why do people behave this way and act this way? Why do they constantly judge and single out a specific group of people all is one and all is the same when they don't even know all of them? Well, a big reason why is because of bad experiences. Let me give an example. Let's say a girl dates multiple different guys, and let's say all of them happen to be black, and the girl has a bad experience with each of these guys where they were assholes to her, they cheated on her, they didn't do right by her. And for what she went through and for her experience, she has the right to not like those specific guys and have negative, hard feelings towards those specific guys. But what's not right is for her to label every single last black guy that she comes across as being the exact same as them. And even worse, to label every single last guy, period, to be the same as them. Because yes, we do have bad experiences with certain people where they do us wrong, where they screw us over and they shit on us or whatever have you. But the thing is, that person did it. Not every single last person who looks like them, comes from the same ethnic background as them. They did not do it. That person did it. And you have the right to be upset at them. You have the right to not like them. But you don't have the right to take it out on everybody else who's the same race as them and everybody else who is the same gender as them. But unfortunately, people will go through enough of those bad and negative experiences where they will label everybody else they come across who is the same as that person that did them wrong as being just that. Without even talking to them, without even getting to know them, they will automatically group them up as all being the same. And that's not right to treat people that way who literally did nothing to you. Your experiences are valid. It's understandable for you to be upset and maybe feel somewhat traumatized with what you went through. But labeling every single last man as the same and every single last woman as the same is a very limiting belief. And the more your life goes on, the more you will see that. And another reason why people will stereotype others this way and hold on to those set beliefs is because they were raised that way. I heard a saying a long time ago that no one is born racist, they're taught to be racist. And that goes for any prejudice or any other closed-minded attitude there is. That shit is learned. That shit is taught by a parent, grandparent, group of friends. They learn that shit from somewhere. And unfortunately, the place they learn it from is from a place of hate, a place of ignorance, and a place of not knowing shit. Because when you're raised a certain way, when you're brought up a certain way, as you get older, what you were taught just becomes normal. And sadly, in this case, what becomes normal is being a closed-minded, ignorant asshole. Yeah, because one example I could think of, referencing a movie, is the movie 42 that's about Jackie Robinson, where Jackie Robinson's playing in a game and obviously the fans are super racist and, you know, shouting a bunch of shit at him. And there's this one specific guy who's shouting at him, calling him the N-word and calling him every derogatory term you can think of. And then his son is standing next to him. And you want to know what his son does? His son also starts chanting the N-word and starts chanting those same things that his dad is chanting. And you want to know why? Because he sees his dad doing it. He learns it from his dad. And he doesn't know any better because his dad is his hero. Yeah, because a lot of that ignorance, a lot of that closed-mindedness and those negative attitudes will come exactly from the people who raised them to be that way. And when you look up to somebody that much and you want to be just like them that much, then sometimes you're going to end up doing things and thinking things that'll lead you down the wrong path. So always be mindful of the way you were raised and what you were taught. Because sometimes the people who taught you didn't know any better themselves. And more than anything, a big reason why someone will single out a specific group of people as one is simply out of ignorance. Whether it's somebody who thinks that all black people are criminals, or all white people are racist, or all police officers are out to get you, or all men are cheaters, and all women are sluts, whatever it is, that kind of attitude, that kind of mentality is breeded in ignorance. It's breeded in an attitude of not knowing shit and not even at least caring enough to try to know about that shit. Because it's okay to admit that you don't know enough about a specific group of people to draw a conclusion about them and say things like, hey, I don't know enough about this specific group of people, so I'm not going to label them a certain way. But when you act like you do know everything about them and you come up with an automatic conclusion about them without even knowing all the information, then you just make yourself look like a dumbass. An ignorant, not knowing shit, major league dumbass. And as I said on this podcast before, and I will say until the day this podcast is no longer around, that kind of shit is for the birds. Yeah, because as a black man, I've come across a lot of racism throughout my life. Whether it happened to me or happened to somebody that I did know, I've definitely seen that shit throughout my life. And yes, those situations did make me upset, pissed off, and they did make me dislike, borderline hate the people responsible for it. But what would be wrong would be for me to label every single last white person that I come across as being racist, as being prejudiced, and being out to get me. Because I don't know every single last one of them. I never talked to every single last one of them or interacted with them. And until I do, which will probably never happen because that shit would take forever, I'm not going to label every single last white person as being racist just because I came across some that were racist. The ones who were racist, the ones who were assholes, fuck them, the hell with them. But the ones I don't even know, who I never even came across and don't know shit about, until I do, I'm not coming up with any kind of conclusion about them whatsoever. So what can people do to solve this problem and not be that type of person anymore who constantly judges and groups a specific group of people all into one and doesn't even give them the time of day? Well, the first thing they need to freaking do is realize that not everybody is the same. Not all black people are the same, not all white people are the same, not all Hispanic people are the same, not all Asian people are the same, not all men, not all women, not all gay people, etc. You get my drift. No group of people are all the same. Even if we belong to the same race, even if we belong to the same gender, all of us are different in our own motherfreaking ways. Our music taste, our behavior, how we carry ourselves, our personalities, whatever it is, all of us are different in our own ways. And we may have things that might make us the same and things that we have in common, but at the end of the day, all of us are different. But let me clue some people in on a little secret. Being different is not a bad thing. I'm sure some of us have heard this before, but it's true. If all of us were the same, if all of us thought the same and act the same and did everything the exact same, the world would be a motherfucking boring place. And I'm grateful that as I've gotten older, I've learned and understand how important it is to embrace the differences in other people a lot more. And considering all of those differences, that's why it's so wrong to automatically assume that everybody is the same. And that everybody is going to do you wrong and that everybody is out to get you. And that's another thing that people do a lot. They'll go through enough bad experiences where they were done wrong by a family member, by a friend, by a stranger, whatever it is, and they'll get to the point where they say, I hate all people. All people suck. Do some people suck? Of course they do. I'll be the first one to admit that. But you're not doing yourself any favors when you say every last person on earth sucks, when you haven't even met every last person on earth. And that brings me to my next point. Another way you can rid yourself of this judgmental attitude is by giving people a chance. I know in some cases it can be scary, but giving people a chance is the way we build the best relationships. Because I know I wouldn't have a lot of the close friends I have today and also the relationships I've had with women if I didn't at least give them a chance. Because my two best friends are from another country. They're from Israel. And I met them when I was about 15 years old. And when I first met them, I knew jack shit about Israeli culture. I knew jack shit about Israel. I've been fortunate to learn a lot about it as I've been friends with them. But initially when I met them, I knew nothing about it at all. But even though I didn't know a lot about that, I still gave them a chance. Granted, we did have our differences. The way they grew up was a lot different from the way that I grew up. And it showed in a lot of our taste. But at the end of the day, despite those differences, we're still best friends 22 years later. But I could have very easily had a closed-minded, closed-off attitude about them because they were from another country and I didn't know enough about the other country and enough about why they were the way they were. And I could have very easily just not given them the time of day. And they also could have done the same to me. But you know what? We actually took the time to get to know each other. And because of that, we've been best friends for 22 years. And that's why I say it's so important to take that risk and actually give people a chance to disappoint you and give people a chance to let you down before you automatically assume that they will. Because there's a very good chance that they could surprise you. Yeah, giving somebody a chance could open up the doors to a great friendship that could last for as long as mine has with my best friends, or a relationship that turns into a marriage, that turns into having kids and a long-lasting life together. But if you have a closed-minded, closed-off attitude about someone and aren't even willing to give them the time of day, then you could be cheating yourself out of all that shit. And honestly, which one sounds better? Getting the chance to get to know someone and possibly building a relationship with them over time and having great times and great memories with them, or just automatically making up your mind about someone and being too afraid to even try to get to know them and try to talk to them and just automatically judge them when you don't even know shit about them. Which scenario sounds better to you? Which one sounds better? I think I know what your answer is. Which brings me to my very last point on this. The biggest way you could stop being so judgmental is to be more open-minded. When you approach things in life with more of an open mind, it may not guarantee that it'll work out your way or work out in your favor, but it at least betters your chances of being happy with it regardless of what the outcome is. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people who hold on to attitudes and mentalities that are toxic, is that they don't know how to have an open mind. They're just so set in their ways, so stuck in their ways, so damn stubborn that trying a new way is just too scary for them. When if they would just at least face that fear and try, that shit could end up changing their life. You could meet a new friend, you could meet a new potential spouse, a potential business partner, discover new music that you once thought was bad, anything along the line. Just by being open-minded, there's no limit to the places where you can go and the things you can see. For instance, when I was younger, back in high school, I had a specific type of hip-hop that I liked, and if anything wasn't that kind of hip-hop, I didn't want to give it the time of day. I thought it sucked, and I thought it was beneath what I liked. But as I got older, I learned to be more open-minded to different types of hip-hop. Even if it's not my favorite, even if I end up not liking it, and even if it ends up not being my cup of tea, I can at least listen to it once. If I listen to it once and don't like it, whatever, I don't have to listen to it anymore. But if I at least listen to it and give it an open mind and try it, maybe it could end up surprising me. Maybe it could end up being my favorite song. But you just have to have an open mind when it comes to those things. And not just draw up a conclusion and automatically think it's bad and automatically think it sucks when you don't even know anything about it. And that's why I maintain that having that open mind can not only create new relationships for yourself, but also create yourself a whole new life. But you gotta stop stereotyping people. You gotta stop judging people. But you gotta stop thinking that every single last specific person in a group of people are all the same. It sucks that you were raised to think that way. It sucks that you went through experiences that maybe shaped you to think that way. But at the end of the day, that shit is super toxic and that shit is super wrong. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to accomplish anything. And more than anything else, it is going to limit your life. But if you have an attitude of believing that not all people are the same, that all people are different, and you're willing to at least be open-minded and give people a chance before you come up with a final conclusion about them, then you'll be moving your life forward instead of backwards. You'll be someone more people in the process will be drawn to. And most of all, you'll just be an overall better version of yourself. The choice is yours. But I think we all know which choice the right one is. Well, that's all the time I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as I've said before, I am not a licensed doctor or therapist, but I do have a lot of experience in my personal life going through these issues. So I like to use this podcast as a platform to help others who may be going through those issues also and having an easier time of getting past them than I did. And if you want to connect with me and talk to me, you could follow me on any of my various social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Look up my first and last name, Kirk Cadet. Send me a message, friend request, whatever have you. Also, you can find this podcast on Spotify as well as YouTube and Spreaker. Listen to this and any of the other episodes in the archives. Let me know what you like about the podcast and what you don't like about it. And for a very long time to come, I will be here talking about this issue of isolation, the good and bad that comes from it, and what we can do to have a better understanding of it, to have a better quality of our lives in the future. So until next time, I'm Kirk Cadet for another edition of the Isolation Cabin. And like I said before, do not be an asshole in real life or on social media, because that shit is for the birds. See you guys next time.